Enjoy our spine-chilling stories as you sleep, commute, or relax. If you're new, hit subscribe and share with friends and family. Let us know in the comments how we can improve. Our stories are best experienced with headphones on. Now, let's dive into today's tale.
Warning: the following stories contain elements of horror that explore themes of the supernatural, possession, psychological terror, and gruesome transformations. They are intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for those sensitive to graphic imagery or themes of death, entrapment, and eternal damnation. Listener discretion is advised. Story number 2. Title: The Haunting of Innocence. I never thought much about my childhood. It was mostly filled with the usual ups and downs, swing sets, scraped knees, and whispers behind the monkey bars. Yet, one thread of memory stands out, sharp and jagged like a thorn in my mind. It's the story of Megan, a schoolmate who lived in the shadowy corners of my childhood, a girl who once threatened to kill me in my sleep. Megan was an enigma, wrapped in a strange kind of charm. With her ethereal white hair and piercing blue eyes, she seemed to float through the hallways of our elementary school, a ghostly figure who spoke in hushed tones as if the world were a secret she was never meant to share. It was odd, really. She had this princess-like quality that drew people in, yet she kept her distance, preferring to hover at the edges of our playground games. I wasn't friends with her, but there was something about her that intrigued me. Perhaps it was the way her laughter tinkled like wind chimes, soft yet unsettling. One Saturday afternoon, the sun hung lazily in the sky, casting playful shadows across the local park. I was swinging my legs from the top of a slide when I spotted Megan and her little brother, Tommy, making their way toward the swings. My heart raced at the unexpected sight. "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" I called out, hopping off the slide and running over. "We saw you," Tommy squealed, his excitement contagious. Megan offered a small smile, her eyes sparkling with mischief. We spent the afternoon running from one end of the park to the other, playing tag and hide-and-seek. I was it first, and after finding Tommy crouched behind a tree, I sought out Megan. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, making the park feel almost magical. Finally, I spotted her at the top of the giant frog slide, her silhouette framed against the twilight sky. "Gotcha!" I shouted, laughing as I pointed up at her. She looked down at me, and for a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the light shifted in her eyes. I watched, frozen, as her expression morphed into something cold and determined, a far cry from the playful girl I'd known just moments before. "I'm going to kill you," she said, her voice low and steady, sending an icy shiver down my spine. "What?" I stammered, my heart racing. "Megan, that's not funny." But her face remained blank, the innocent child I knew replaced by someone else entirely. My instincts kicked in, and I turned to flee, my feet pounding against the ground as I searched for a hiding spot. The laughter of children faded into the background, replaced by the thudding of my heart. I ducked behind a cluster of bushes, my breath coming in quick bursts. What had I done to provoke her? I had no idea. Maybe it was a game. Maybe it was something more sinister. It felt like hours before she found me, but it was probably only a few minutes. "Hey," she said softly, crouching beside me. The fierce intensity from earlier had vanished, replaced by an almost contrite expression. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Can I tell you something?" I nodded, still trembling. "What is it?" "I'm a vampire," she whispered, as if the words were a sacred secret. I blinked, not sure how to respond. "You're joking, right?" "No, I'm serious," she insisted, her eyes narrowing. "I can see you, like, all the time. If you tell anyone, I'll come to your house at night and kill you." I laughed nervously, but Megan didn't join in. "You're kidding, right? This is a joke." "Not a joke," she said, her voice eerily calm. "You have to keep it a secret. If you don't, I'll find you." The weight of her words settled like lead in my stomach. The next few weeks were a blur of paranoia and confusion. I couldn't shake the memory of her words, nor could I escape the constant feeling of being watched. I'd catch myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see Megan lurking in the shadows, her pale figure waiting to pounce. I told myself it was ridiculous. Vampires weren't real. But a part of me clung to her threat. "Why are you so jumpy?" my best friend Sam asked one afternoon as we walked home from school. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "It's nothing," I muttered, my mind racing back to Megan's warning. "Just school stuff." "Come on, spill it." Sam nudged me playfully. "You know I can keep a secret." I hesitated, weighing the consequences of sharing my secret, but the fear of Megan's retribution gripped me tighter than any bond of friendship. "Seriously, it's nothing," I said, forcing a laugh. As the days turned into weeks, Megan's threat loomed over me like a dark cloud. I couldn't concentrate in class. I couldn't enjoy time with my friends. It felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, one I couldn't wake up from. I began to question everything: my reality, my friendships, even my sanity. Then, one day, Megan approached me after school. "Did you tell anyone?" she asked, her voice low and intimidating. I shook my head, heart pounding. "Of course not." "Good, because I'm always watching." She grinned, a chilling smile that sent shivers down my spine. Each night, I lay in bed, staring at the shadows creeping along my walls, convinced that Megan would appear at any moment. I convinced myself that if I stayed quiet, if I played along with her twisted game, I'd be safe. But the paranoia gnawed at me, slowly stealing my childhood away. "Why do you never talk about your childhood?" my friends would ask during our late-night hangouts. "You never share any stories?" "It was nothing special," I'd reply, forcing a smile. "Just the usual stuff." But the truth was far from ordinary. Megan had left a mark on my life that I couldn't shake. Even now, years later, I still occasionally glance over my shoulder, half expecting to see her familiar figure, her haunting blue eyes watching me from the shadows. Sometimes I wonder if she ever grew out of that phase. I hope she did. I hope she found a way to step into the light, to let go of the darkness that consumed her. Because the truth is, I never really stopped being afraid of her. The school year rolled on, each day blurring into the next. I found myself becoming hyper-aware of my surroundings, particularly in the hallways where I'd catch glimpses of Megan's silvery hair glinting under the fluorescent lights. It felt like she was always there, lurking just out of sight. The laughter of my classmates echoed around me, but it was a hollow sound filled with an anxiety that gnawed at my gut. One afternoon, in art class, Megan sat 2 seats away from me. I watched as she meticulously painted a landscape, her face a mask of concentration. I could feel her presence, a weight pressing against my chest. I tried to focus on my own canvas, but the vibrant colors blurred together, a kaleidoscope of anxiety. "Are you okay?" my art teacher asked, noticing my distraction. "Yeah, just tired," I replied, forcing a smile. As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Megan looked over at me. "You should come to my house after school. I have something to show you." My heart raced. The last thing I wanted was to be alone with her, but curiosity gnawed at me. "What do you want to show me?" She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Secrets, you'll see." I hesitated, but the allure of her mystery was too strong. "Okay," I finally said, my voice trembling. After school, I walked to Megan's house, a small, older home on the edge of town. The yard was overgrown, the paint peeling from the wooden porch. As I approached, a chill ran down my spine. It felt like the house was watching me, judging me for stepping into its shadow. Megan greeted me at the door, her expression unreadable. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. I entered, the air heavy with an odd mix of scents, old books, dust, and something sweet, almost metallic. The living room was dimly lit, filled with strange trinkets and mismatched furniture. Candles flickered on a table, casting dancing shadows on the walls. "Sit down," Megan instructed, her tone surprisingly authoritative. I perched on the edge of a worn-out couch, feeling out of place. "So, what's the secret?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I want to show you something special." She walked to a small wooden chest in the corner of the room, opening it with a creak. Inside were various items, jewelry, photographs, and what looked like old, battered books. "Those are my treasures," she said, lifting a delicate silver necklace from the chest. "This one belonged to my great-grandmother. She was a witch." "A witch?" I echoed, half amused, half terrified. "Yes, and I'm like her." Megan's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I have powers too, you know. I can do things that others can't." "What kind of things?" I asked, unable to contain my disbelief. "Let me show you." She placed the necklace around her neck, her fingers trembling with anticipation. "Watch." As she closed her eyes, the room grew colder, the candle flames flickering wildly. I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Megan, what are you doing?" "Shh, just watch." I watched in horror as shadows twisted around her, forming shapes that danced along the walls. It was mesmerizing, yet terrifying. The shadows morphed into dark figures, swirling around her like a sinister ballet. "Do you see?" she asked, her voice rising above the chaos. "I can control them." "Megan, stop!" I shouted, panic tightening my chest. But she didn't hear me. She was lost in her own world, her laughter echoing in the dim room. Suddenly, the shadows lunged toward me, icy tendrils brushing against my skin. I stumbled back, my heart racing. "Get them away from me." Megan opened her eyes, the shadows dissipating as if they'd never been there. "See, I told you, I have powers. You should be careful." I gasped for breath, trying to make sense of what had just happened. "This isn't funny, Megan. You need to stop." She stepped closer, her expression serious. "You're the only one who knows. You can't tell anyone, or else." "Or else what?" I demanded, my fear bubbling over. "You'll kill me in my sleep." "Exactly." We stared at each other, the weight of her threat hanging between us like a knife. I forced myself to breathe, struggling against the rising tide of panic. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered. "I don't want to be part of your games." Megan's eyes darkened, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a glimpse of the girl I once thought I knew. You don't understand, she said, her voice trembling. This is who I am. You can't just walk away from it. I bolted for the door, but she grabbed my wrist, her grip unyielding. You can't leave. Not until you promise. Promise what? I shouted, trying to pull away. Promise you'll keep my secrets, she insisted, her expression desperate. Or else I'll have to. Take care of you. The fear in her eyes sent a chill down my spine. Fine, I promise, I blurted out, desperate to escape. Megan released me, her face softening. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. I stumbled out of her house, the weight of her words pressing down on me like a boulder. I ran home, my heart pounding, the shadows of her threat lingering long after I'd left. The following days were a blur of anxiety. I avoided Megan at school, my heart racing every time I caught sight of her. I couldn't shake the feeling of her eyes on me, watching, waiting for me to slip up. Why do you look so pale? Sam asked one day during lunch. You're like a ghost. I'm fine, I said, forcing a smile. Just tired. Seriously, you're acting weird. Are you sure it's not something more? I shook my head. I couldn't tell him. I couldn't risk it. The paranoia had seeped into every corner of my life, and I felt like I was living in a constant state of dread. One evening, as I lay in bed, I heard a rustling outside my window. My heart raced. I crept to the window and peered out, half expecting to see Megan standing there, her pale figure illuminated by moonlight. But there was nothing, just the wind whispering through the branches, the world outside dark and still. Get a grip, I muttered to myself, retreating back to my bed. Yet the shadows danced across my walls, and sleep eluded me. Days turned into weeks, and Megan's threat continued to haunt me. I felt trapped, a prisoner of my own fear. I began to withdraw from my friends, canceling plans and isolating myself. I couldn't risk them finding out about Megan, about her twisted world of shadows and threats. Finally, one afternoon, I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't live like this anymore. I found her sitting alone on a swing in the park, her hair glowing in the late afternoon sun. Megan, I said, my voice trembling. She looked up, her expression unreadable. What do you want? We need to talk, I said, crossing my arms defensively. About what you said, about your powers. Her eyes narrowed. You shouldn't have come here. I'm tired of being afraid, I said, my voice rising. You can't keep threatening me like this. She stood up, her demeanor shifting. You don't get it, do you? This is who I am. I can't just turn it off. I don't care, I shouted. You can't control me or my life. Megan stepped closer, her expression darkening. You think you can just walk away? You have no idea what I'm capable of. I felt a cold chill wash over me, but I stood my ground. You're not a vampire, Megan. You're just a girl playing games. Stop trying to scare me. Her eyes flared with anger. You don't know anything. I'm more than just a girl. Then prove it, I challenged, my heart racing. Show me what you can do. The air grew thick with tension as Megan stared me down, her jaw clenched. You're asking for it. Then do it, I urged, my voice steady. If you're really powerful, show me. She hesitated, and for a moment I thought I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. But then, with a sharp inhale, she raised her hands, and the shadows around her began to twist and writhe, dark tendrils snaking toward me. I gasped, stepping back. Megan, stop! But it was too late. The shadows lunged, wrapping around my ankles, pulling me down. I fell to the ground, panic rising within me. Megan, please! Do you see? She hissed, her voice low and menacing. "You can't escape me." Desperation surged through me as I fought against the darkness, my breath coming in quick gasps. "Let me go!" The shadows tightened their grip, but just as quickly, they released me. I scrambled to my feet, breathless and terrified. Megan stood there, breathing heavily, her expression a mix of anger and something else, fear perhaps. "I don't want to hurt you," she said, her voice breaking. "But you need to understand, I'm not just a girl." "Then stop acting like one," I shot back, my heart racing. "You can't keep threatening me. This isn't who you are." The shadows flickered around her, wavering like a candle in the wind. I could see the struggle in her eyes, the conflict between the girl I once knew and the darkness she had embraced. "Maybe you're right," she said slowly, her voice trembling. "Maybe I'm not who I thought I was." "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I thought I could control it," she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But the more I tried, the more it consumed me. I didn't want to be afraid anymore, so I became the monster." "Megan, you don't have to be a monster," I said gently. "You can choose to be someone else. You can fight it." Her expression softened, and for the first time, I saw the girl I remembered, the one who laughed and played in the park, not the one who threatened me in the shadows. "I don't know how," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Start by letting go of the fear," I suggested. "You don't have to keep this secret anymore. You can talk to someone who can help." Megan looked away, the shadows retreating as she wrestled with her thoughts. "What if they don't believe me?" "Then show them," I said firmly. "You have the power to change this. Just don't let it control you." In that moment, I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. What if I'm too far gone? "Then fight back," I urged. "You can do it, Megan. You're stronger than you think." She took a deep breath, the shadows receding as she released the tension in her body. "Maybe you're right," she said, a hint of determination creeping into her voice. "Maybe it's time to stop hiding." I stepped closer, relieved to see her softening. "Let's do this together. You're not alone anymore." As we stood there, the sun setting behind us, the weight of fear began to lift. The park felt brighter, the shadows less threatening. Megan and I shared a moment of understanding, a fragile bond forming between us. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice steadying. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. "I'll always be here for you," I promised. "Just remember, you're not a monster. You're just Megan." From that day forward, I watched as Megan began to embrace her true self, slowly shedding the darkness that had once consumed her. We spent more time together, talking about our fears and dreams, navigating the complexities of growing up. The shadows that once haunted our friendship began to dissipate, replaced by laughter and shared secrets. Megan became a part of my life, in a way I never thought possible, and in turn, I learned to face my own fears. Years passed, and the memory of those haunting days faded into the background. Megan found her footing, moving beyond the confines of her self-imposed labels. She blossomed into a person I admired deeply, a testament to resilience and the power of friendship. As we sit together now, reminiscing about our childhood, I can't help but smile. "Remember when you threatened to kill me?" I tease, nudging her playfully. Megan laughs, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "I can't believe I was ever that person. It feels like a lifetime ago." "It was?" I agree, my heart swelling with gratitude. "But look at you now. You're amazing." "Thanks to you," she replies, her smile genuine. I couldn't have done it without you reminding me that I'm more than just shadows. And as we sit in the park, surrounded by the laughter of children and the warmth of the sun, I realize how far we've both come. The darkness that once loomed over our lives has transformed into something beautiful, a testament to the power of friendship, understanding, and the courage to break free from fear. Sometimes I wonder if she ever grew out of that phase. I hope she did. I hope she found a way to step into the light, to let go of the darkness that consumed her, because the truth is, I never really stopped being afraid of her. Wherever you are, Megan, I hope you're doing well. I hope you've learned to embrace the light, because together we were stronger than the shadows that once threatened to tear us apart.
If you're new, hit subscribe and share with